another week. I hope you've been well. Hope you've been fine. So, today I thought I'd jump on here. I honestly don't know what's happening with the lighting on my phone. It keeps fluctuating. Hopefully, it's gonna stay like this. Let's hope. Yes, Madam Production is still learning by the day. Yes, so how are we? I hope you've been well. Hope you've been fine. This is Konsokijo. The page is Inspire YG. Konsokijo Inspire YG on Facebook. Inspire YG on Instagram as well. That is as far as I've gone in terms of social media, but it's better than nothing, I guess. So thank you for everyone who's been watching or who watched my previous video and my previous videos. I've got a couple out there. This page was created with the hope to inspire people, and especially young people who have a desire for education and a desire to grow themselves, to be the better versions of themselves, and who have a desire to leave this world better than they found it. So I have a hope and a desire that this page will inspire a child who is not born yet. So I have huge dreams for it, and I'm looking at 10 to 20 years. So it's not in a rush, but I love to share my journey, which is obviously unique because we are all unique. We are all created in God's image, and we are created as unique beings. So I share it just so that it can uplift, with the hope that it will uplift someone, or give someone that oomph that they might be needing. So this week I said I am going to talk to you about my journey with accommodation. It's not even a journey, it's my nightmare. So different international students have deal with different issues, and there are different hurdles as for different international students, and that can depend on which country you come from. That can depend on your background, in terms of finances. If you came on a scholarship, that can depend on if you're living within university or you're living outside of university. So that means you're renting outside, like everybody else. Now, mostly people who are in big universities, like for myself, I'm based in Sydney, and so my university was in Sydney. There are major universities in Sydney, and most of those major universities, they do have accommodation. They do have apartments where students, pay a package, where they pay their tuition fee and they pay their accommodation. But for some, that can be expensive, and so for myself, I had to look for accommodation outside of uni. Now, I did meet some lovely people along the way, and some of these people were offering to connect me with their friends who had young kids, or who just, who were starting out, who needed someone, or just who were renting. And it could be two things: my stubbornness or my quench for independence. I was really feeling like I don't know what I needed to prove. Anyway, I don't know. I did want to go through that journey without relying on anybody. I didn't want to get accommodation for free. Well, it's not like there was any for free. There's nothing for free, really. But I did want to, if I got a night shift, I wanted to be comfortable, or an evening shift, I wanted to be comfortable to come in the middle of the night at home and not feel like I'm inconveniencing somebody by waking them up. And most of my shifts, I used to get home past midnight because I used to do mostly afternoon shifts. So I didn't want to have that kind of feeling. They might not have been inconvenienced, but for myself, I would have felt like I was inconveniencing them. So that's one of the main reasons. The other thing is, in Sydney, at least, I know it's a lot of places in the Western world where accommodation is so expensive, housing so expensive that people have to share. So people buy, mostly international student people get an apartment, and then you get an apartment with a friend and you share a room. So you rent a room within an apartment or within a house. So for myself, I moved 6 houses within the 4 years of being here. I've been very fortunate because where I live now, I've been here since 2016. So this is the longest I've been in an accommodation. Otherwise, I was moving a lot, and sometimes that moving has nothing to do with you. Things are beyond your control. So like I know of most accommodation, it was the owner want to renovate the house, or they would not pass accreditation. So people who are within housing or property industry, there is checkup that is done by the council, by the government once in a while. And sometimes there are things that if you don't have in your house, especially things like smoke alarm, if you don't have those, sometimes you lose the accreditation. That means you cannot rent your house. Yeah, so the things like those are used to happen, and I was always affected, and I had to move. So wow, I hope you guys don't get to hear that train. It's too loud now. But I've also had very terrible experiences with accommodation, and I feel like many people struggle with many things. Some people struggle with homesick, some people struggle with getting jobs, some people struggle with paying tuition fees, some people struggle with finding accommodation, fitting in, some people struggle with culture, some people struggle with language. It depends on what you struggle with. For myself, the biggest struggle I had, trust you me, wasn't none of that. It was accommodation. I moved a lot, and it wasn't nice. It's for people who've moved, you know how stressful it can be. Just the idea of packing your things, trying to find transport, just moving. You don't know who you're going to live with. You don't know what caliber of people yeah, or if there are things you consider if you're going to share accommodation with someone. You're going to look at things like cleanliness. Are they clean people? Do they clean after themselves? You're going to look at noise. Some people love loud music. And noise is a huge one. If you're a student, you want to be in a place where you at least you do have your peace, and you have your quiet times where you can be able to reflect and do your assignment and study for exams. So if you're in a place where someone else is having a party every day, I don't know how you're going to do that. Sometimes it's light. If you're sharing, let's say you're sharing accommodation, maybe you're sharing rooms, because sometimes we had to share rooms, and the other person doesn't want light, but you need light because maybe you're studying, and they don't study, they work, they need to sleep. So there's all these things to consider. But I think for me, yeah, it was a battle. It was a really huge struggle for me to find like the right accommodation. One terrible experience I've had many terrible experiences with accommodation, but I think one experience that I had was this house. The owner needed to renovate the building, so we needed to move, and we were given 2 weeks to leave the property. So I started looking for places to move, and obviously there are a couple of places you can look for accommodation. There's flatmate.com, something called flatmate.com. There is Gumtree, and there's a couple of other online sites you can find accommodation, or at least if you're looking for a room to share, an apartment. Now, and accommodations in Sydney, housing or accommodation in Sydney doesn't come cheap. For myself, my accommodation for a week, and because we pay rent, we pay rent weekly, or at least most people pay rent weekly, or fortnightly. Some people pay monthly, but for the majority of places, like for myself where I've lived, it used to be weekly, and my accommodation for a week was equivalent to my monthly salary back home. So you see why you actually need a job, because you need to finance that, because it doesn't make any sense if you're living here and expect that kind of money to be coming from home. So one experience I faced was I moved. So obviously this person needed to renovate their house. You've given 2 weeks to move. So I looked up for accommodation. I found this place. Now this guy had advertised the house as a nice house, with a couple of rooms, and he was renting one of the rooms. So I called one of my friends. came, helped me move. I had packed up everything, just, loaded the stuff in his car, and he dropped me in this new accommodation. So, and he left. So I put all my stuff in my room. Then as I was walking in with the last suitcase, and now my friend has gone, as I was walking with the last suitcase, I see this guy at the backyard. What am I saying? In the backyard. So you walk from the door going in, and there's this long corridor, and the end of that corridor is a kitchen, and then that's the backyard. And he was there, and he was looking. He was facing the other way around, so I could only see his back. Now, I don't know, part of me within I have very high intuitions, and what are they, high or strong? Whatever they are, but they are humongous. They are huge. My instincts, I cannot ignore them. It's one of those things. So I could feel something was not right. Anyway, I walked in the room. This guy walked back in. His room was right next to mine, so it's like this is the wall. So at the back, that was his room, and he was banging the wall, and he was just swearing, just saying, McDonald's, I don't know, effing McDonald's, like just swearing, and just, and banging. So, I was just feeling like the wall could like crumble and just fall on me. And it was like screaming and banging, and I was feeling like my blood was boiling. And the reason, actually, now I remember why I'm sharing this story, because I shared it on my Facebook. I just wrote couple of words, and this is 2013, 13th of October, no, 11th of October. So I'm talking about 2 days ago, a day like 2 days ago, 2013. Yes, that's when it happened. So I'm reliving. So I think the way I'm feeling sharing this story is how I felt back then. So I was waiting for him to stop banging so that I can at least have an idea that he's left the room. But I didn't even know, like, I was feeling like when he leaves the room is when I will be able to go back in. To walk out and run away. But then when he stopped banging, then I would feel like, is he standing on the door? So when he's banging, I feel like, okay, I should walk out. But then I feel like then I will find him. I don't know. I was so scared. I remember just as he was banging, I packed like just small essentials, like a soap, and this is the things that you will need day to day, toothpaste, whatever. I put them on my backpack. I put the bag on my back. I took my phone, took the keys. I waited for him to come back because the place went silent for a couple of few minutes. Then he walked back in. When he was banging, I opened the door slowly and I walked out. And as I'm walking out, I can hear another person speaking. It was like 3 people speaking at the same time. Now I walked back and I'm running. Now this is like maybe 9 p.m. at night, going to 10 p.m. That's too loud. Sorry guys. Anyway, I'm now walking back. So the good thing is, from the house I was moving, from that house to the house I had moved from wasn't so far. I still had the keys to the house I had moved. So I just walked out and ran with my backpack. I'm now running to the other house, the house that I just moved from. So that means I'm gonna go back. The house has got nothing. The good thing, I had the key, so I walked in. My bed still had the mattress, thank God, but I didn't have blankets. I didn't have anything else. I didn't even have clothes apart from what I was wearing. And then I just wrote a message to the landlady, and I told her, I'm sorry, but I have to come back, and I'm gonna sleep in your house today. I'll probably explain to you what happened tomorrow, because I was still shaking. And I called my friend and I requested him to come help me move the stuff again back to the house, because then I had to start looking for accommodation all over again. I think anyway, the following morning I got up, I went and picked my stuff. And actually, I was so lucky that I had not paid the bond, because the guy was actually upset that I moved out. And I came to learn that the house actually had 3 people who were living with bipolar disease. So the guy who was banging actually had severe bipolar disease. And there were other 2 people who had severe bipolar disease as well. So when I was saying that I was walking out, three people were talking, it was actually one lady who had three different voices. And it was like, because later on the owner told me, and I said, don't you think that's information you should disclose to the people renting your house? And he just didn't seem to think like that's something that he should do, but obviously it's business. I was so lucky that, you know, it happened that same day and I had not paid him, because I don't know whether he could have returned my money if I had paid. But those are the kind of things that can happen when you're looking for accommodation, and you really trying to understand. Because even at the time, I didn't understand a lot about mental health. And talking about mental health, this is Mental Health Month, so yeah, Mental Health Awareness Month, October. So hopefully, you know, we can remember to ask our loved ones and people around us, are you okay? And I'll start with you. Are you okay? If you're not, please speak to someone who care, and please ask them if they are okay, because I think it matters. Anyway, I digress, and it's a good digression. So yeah, those are some of the things that can happen looking for accommodation. I thought I'd share that. I'll probably share more in the future, because I've got a couple of stories linked with accommodation as we proceed. But with that, I hope you have a lovely week, and God bless, and see you on the next one. Bye.